Hi guys, well today we're going to be taking a look at the Corsair Graphite 380T. So this is Corsair's latest dedicated mini ITX enclosure, and although it is small in stature, it comes with an aggressive feature set and eye-catching LEDs. You know, the very fact that it comes with an LED cooling fan there at the front, the Perspex transparency and an optional lighting system inside kind of reveals that this case is really aimed at the gamer. Graphite 380T is available in black, white or yellow, and with its reinforced carry handle is designed to be taken to events such as LAN parties. 380T is packed with a number of useful features which include 2 reliable cooling fans, a fan controller and compatibility for high-end components such as a 240mm radiator. So 380T is available to buy in the UK for around £105. Over in the States it's going to be $140. So you know, by no means is this a cheap option, but as we go throughout the video, it should become evident whether it's worth such a cost. So without further delay, let's jump in and take a look at this exciting new case. Okay, let's start at the front of 380T then, and at the front here you can see that we've got a heavily perforated panel with a metallic Corsair badge there in the middle. And so this panel provides plenty of ventilation for the front cooling. Now this fascia here can be detached and it's pretty easy to do so. All you've got to do is press in the upper corners and this releases the panel, and then on the reverse there you can see that we've got a dust filter already attached, so you'd need to clean the entire piece. So taking this panel away, we have a pre-installed 140mm cooling fan. That's an AF140L. That's LED ready and it's going to give off a nice white glow when that's powered up. And incidentally, there are mounting coils here at the front for attaching 2 120mm fans or a single 200mm. Up at the top of the case we've got the front panel connectivity, and you can see here we've got it sat on this black panel here. Coordinates really well with the rest of the case, looks great that. In the centre there you can see we've got the start and stop button, so that's the power. And then we've got a reset button. We've got 2 USB 3 ports there, a headphone and a microphone jack, and then we've got the fan controller. So this gives you the LED indication whether you're on the low, medium or high setting, and that allows you to plug in up to 3 cooling fans. Up at the top of the case there is no ventilation or option to install cooling fans, so instead we've got an integrated carry handle. Now instead of having this protruding out of the top of the case, Corsair has cleverly carved it out of the actual design, and as a result we've got this reinforced handle which blends into the overall style of the case very well. So this particular feature is going to be useful for transportation, so if you're attending LAN parties quite often or you take your rig over to a friend's house, then this is going to be a very useful feature for you. Now both side panels on 380T are identical in their physical appearance. So in the lower section here we've got this perforated mesh, very much like the front there, and that styling gives you a bit of ventilation. And in the top section there we've got this Perspex window allowing you a bit of a preview into the actual system. Now in the very top here we've got this latch system, and you'll have seen that on previous graphite cases such as the 600T and the 760T. All you do is pull the latch up and you can see here this detaches the actual panel, but you can see the actual mechanism there. So you don't actually need any thumb screws in order to detach that side panel. So 380T is primarily designed for mini ITX configurations, and after removing those side panels it kind of highlights the very reason why this is so. The internal dimensions and the layout is rather condensed, but as we're going to find out, it's surprising just how much hardware you can actually fit inside this case. We have tool-free options for installing kit in different areas, and allocation for fixing a 240mm radiator, which we're going to explore further into the video. Okay, we're now going to have a look at the different features inside the case. I'm going to start at the power supply. Now, the power supply cage actually has the motherboard tray sat on top of it, and inside that power supply cage we can fit units up to 160mm in length. You do have to bear in mind though, the gap between the end and that hard drive cage. I've got approximately 2 centimeters, so sufficient space there. And underneath that power supply we have a removable dust filter which can be taken out and cleaned, so you don't need to flip the case on its side in order to get that out. Now immediately next to the power supply cage we've got this small compartment here which can take two 2.5-inch drives. Now I'll just show you how this works. Let's take this Corsair SSD out. As you can see, this is 2.5-inch, and you simply press the latch down and it slides and clicks into place, so you don't need any screwdrivers. Directly above the motherboard we have two PCI covers so that you can add in a graphics card, and both of those covers have the ventilation holes for better airflow inside the case. Now to fix those in place we've got a single thumb screw and a clamp system. And next to this we've got another Corsair branded fan. That's an AF120L, and that acts as an exhaust. Located in the roof of 380T is a single white LED. Now this LED can be switched on or off using the supplied switch, and this presents a nice atmospheric spotlight onto your hardware. Over on the other side of the case there are two brackets running to the front and back of 380T, and these brackets allow two 120mm fans to be attached or a single 240mm radiator. And to demonstrate this we've installed the Corsair Hydro H100i, which has a 240mm radiator, and as you can see here everything fits really well. And it's really nice to see such compatibility for this type of cooler inside a small case. At the front we've of course got that 200mm cooling fan which is LED ready, and in front of that we've got this hard drive cage here which can take two 2.5-inch drives or two 3.5-inch drives. And I'll just show you how to do this. All you've got to do is take one of these trays out. We've seen this time and time again. Now this tray here can take a 2.5-inch drive. All you'd need to do is drop the drive into the tray and then apply 4 screws into the holes there you can see. And for a 3.5-inch drive I've got one just here for you to demonstrate this. All you'd need to do is slot the drive into the tray like that. The pins actually go into the mounting holes there, as you can see. And it's as simple as that. But if you don't go for the 3.5-inch drives, of course, being such a small form factor, many people go for 2.5-inch drives, so you could just literally opt for an SSD into here, and you can actually take that cage completely out of the case and have more space. Now establishing the clearance limitations inside the case is going to be essential for you guys wanting to know what hardware fits inside the case and what doesn't. So starting with the CPU cooler, you can see here we've got approximately 150mm for the total height. So if you're going to be going down the air cooling route, it still covers a wide selection of different coolers, but unfortunately the flagships, which are around 160mm, are not covered here. But if you're not going to go down the air cooling route, obviously we've got the liquid coolers. Hydro series fits inside here, no problem. For those of you guys wanting to drop in a graphics card inside 380T, it's good news. There is approximately 11.5 inches or 290mm before the end of that card touches the front of the case. Here we've got the XFX 7970 Double D version, which is approximately 10.5 inches in length. And then finally, the cable management inside 380T is exceptional, and this is down to a number of different factors. First of all, we've got a really nice gap here on the other side of that power supply cage, and this gives you enough space, 5cm at its biggest point there, and then down to approximately 4cm. And that means that you can tuck in there any of your redundant cables and keep them neatly tucked away. And then secondly, there is an abundance of hooks and cavities that you can feed and route your cables through in order to keep a nice, clean and tidy setup. Right guys, well before we conclude, I'm just going to give you a bit of an idea as to what to expect from the fan controller on 380T. So at the front here we've got a 140mm cooling fan, that's the AF140L, as you can see, that has got the white LED on it. Over at the back there we've got a 120mm rear exhaust, that's an AF120L, and at the moment we're on the low setting, but I'm going to go through the different modes, medium and high, just to give you a bit of an idea as to what to expect as we ramp up through those different speeds. So I'll get my microphone off and get it as close to those as possible. Okay, we're just going to go up to the medium setting. And then high. And then back down to low. So that gives you a bit of an idea as to what to expect from the fan controller. As you can see, between the low and the medium settings, there actually isn't a great deal of difference. But as we go up to the high setting, it starts to become a bit more noticeable, those noise levels, but they're by no means disruptive. So bringing our thoughts to a conclusion on the new 380T, it's clearly obvious that this case is an impressive little offering. In fact, I'd go as far as to say that it's probably one of my favourite Mini ITX enclosures that I've had into test, and actually this sample marks the 101st case that I've had in for review. Now the reason that I hold it in such high esteem is firstly, I just really like the styling, really like what they've done with the visual appearance. The finish on it is just top notch. And then we go to the various numerous features which are included, and they're just really well executed. For example, up at the top here, this handle up at the top for transportation. It's not just been drilled and a few pieces of metal plonked up at the top as we've seen on rival cases. The handle is reinforced. It's actually blending in and part of the actual design of the chassis, and it just complements it really well. And then we go inside, and we've got allocation there for dropping in SSDs and other devices. We've got the support for full-size graphics cards if you're going to drop one of those in. And also we've got the support there for the 240mm radiator, and as we've seen, you can drop in a Corsair Hydro Series H100 or something similar. And then we move on to the cable management, and 380T tackles this particular subject extremely well. You know, the space on the other side of that power supply cage is sufficient enough to handle all of the cables from the power supply which are redundant, keeping that airflow nice and unrestricted. And then inside we've got numerous hooks, cavities peppered all over the case for tying down cables, fan cables, power supply cables, so that we can keep the components unobstructed, that airflow unobstructed, because obviously we've got the airflow passing in through the front and out through the back. Now I appreciate that you know, some people might not like the styling, it's not to everyone's taste, but actually for a gamer case I actually think it's quite toned down compared to some of the stuff that you can see on the market. But anyway, let me know what you guys think of this case. It's always great to hear feedback from you guys, whether you like or you dislike a product, so please drop your comments in the box below. If you're after the thermal performance on 380T, please go to the full review in the description. It's got all the details over there. Thanks for taking the time out to watch this video, I do appreciate that. If you have liked it, please hit that thumbs up button. If you haven't already, please subscribe to the channel, and I'll see you guys very soon.